But please, son, I want to go home.
Mama, you know I can't make a living there.
Calling for you and for me.
How would you like to spend 24 hours a day shut up with a woman who either sang hymns or looked out the window and pouted?
See on the portals he's waiting and watching.
I'm sorry, lady. You're not going to Bountiful.
Oh, yes, I am. You see.
I have to hold you here for the sheriff.
You are joking with me. Now, don't you joke with me. I have come too far.
Watching for you and for me.
I have made myself one promise. To see my home again before I die.
Lady.
Now, I'm not asking that I not go back. I'm willing to go back. Just let me go these 12 miles now.
Hello, I'm film historian Tony Maeda.
And I'm Brad Shreve, who's just a guy who likes movies.
We discuss movies and television from Hollywood's golden age. We go behind the scenes and share our opinions, too.
And of course, being the average guy, my opinions are the ones that matter.
As does your self-delusion. Welcome to Going Hollywood.
It's too early for him singing.
Hey, Brad.
Yes, sir.
I need you to do me a favor. I need you to tell me when I'm talking too fast. Can you do that? Can you tell me when I talk too fast? Because I've gotten some feedback that I talk too fast. And it's just because I'm excited and I talk too fast. So would you promise to do me a favor and tell me when I talk too fast?
Yes, you're talking too fast right now.
Well, that's because I'm excited.
It makes me happy that you're looking at me and you're excited.
I'm not looking at you. I'm excited. All right. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to take a breath because I don't want to talk too fast. And I did get a little feedback that I talk too fast, but it's just because I get excited and I get carried away. So I don't think it'll be a problem on this show, although I am very excited for two reasons. The first reason is because we're talking about, and I always say one of my favorite movies. I'm so sick of saying that, but I'm going to say it anyway, one of my favorite movies. A beautiful film, a film which had a profound impact on me as a young actor and a young person. And it's The Trip to Bountiful from 1985, Island Pictures, starring the incomparable Miss Geraldine Page. And the second reason I'm so excited is because we have an incredibly special guest joining us, our first one this season, and we're starting at the top. Should I introduce our guest, Brad, and get him in here?
Let me introduce the guest, because I have a thing or two to say about this individual.
Well, before you do, I just want to say a little something here about our guest, because he is not only an actor, a writer, a producer, he does it all, a director of such incredible pieces of work as Sordid Lives. He just wrote a new play called The Recipe Box, which had its premiere in Texas. He's originally from Southern Texas. It's one of the reasons why we wanted him on the show. And also because he and I have a history with this film, which I hope we'll talk about. He also is the writer, director, producer of Blues for Willadine, Southern Baptist Sissies, A Very Sordid Wedding. I mean, that's the movie. You get kind of like a theme here with his work. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Brad, to bring him in and introduce our wonderful guest.
Well, I have a bone to pick with our guest. Because of our guest, I put up with Tony week after week after week to do this damn podcast. Actually, I'm quite grateful. The background is on my old podcast that I had, this individual was a guest on my show. Our guest is the wonderful Del Shores, who I'm actually extremely grateful for introducing me to Tony. Del was a guest on my old show. And when we were done, he goes, I know this guy who might be good on the show. And so I had this guy named Tony Maeda on the show. And I was kind of, after years of doing interviews, I was kind of done. I love them, but they're tiring. And I said, hey, Tony, let's do a show together. And here we are today. So thank you, Del.
Welcome to the podcast, Del.
Thanks for having me. And this is the one I wanted to do. So I love this movie so much and I love the play. So here we are.
It's wonderful to have you. And I kept thinking of you throughout this film because of all the spirituals that were being sung. And I thought, this reminds me of another movie.
Well, it's too early for him singing right now, Brad. But honestly,
Tony once gave me a cup with that on it. I think it had to do with me texting him too early in the morning.
it's too early for him singing. No, it's just because we bonded over this film, The Fabulous, The Trip to Bountiful. And yes, Brad is absolutely right. Back when Del and I were dating, he introduced me to Brad, and he's responsible for this whole podcast. So I don't know whether to hug you or slap you, but thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, Del. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this with you, again, because it's such a beautiful movie, but it's because you're from the South, and because so many of the things you've written and produced and directed, like Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Will, the film which you produced and wrote, take place in the South. What is it about the South and these women and that we find so intriguing and galvanizing, especially with this film? What do you think?
Well, I think they're just, for me, this character, she's just the salt of the earth. She's the kind of grandmother that I grew up with, in Winters, Texas, where Sordid Lives is set. And I was hugely influenced by Horton Foote, he would be appalled to think that I was influenced by him. But I love just the simplicity of his dialogue and in the complexity of his characters, because it looks very simple. I was just, right before we got on here, I started reading some of the IMDb reviews from users, and it's amazing how many truly love this movie, and then some of them, it's so slow and this and this and this, and I'm like, you just don't get it. But I love those characters. I just love how real they are. And
I was just going to say that Carolyn Glynn, who plays Jessie May in this film, is a character in this film, said it's all about the subtext with Horton Foote. Horton Foote is the author of the play The Trip to Bountiful and also the screenplay of The Trip to Bountiful, the film. He also wrote Tender Mercies and the screenplay for To Kill a Mockingbird. So this is a venerated Southern writer, like our guest is a venerated Southern writer.
But with more Academy Award nominations.
And those that complained about how slow it is are the ones that are addicted to Marvel movies that Tony hates so much.
Me too.
So we're talking about the film, The Trip to Bountiful from 1985, starring Miss Geraldine Page. And this is our, I don't know if you knew this, Del, but this is Brad and I are doing like a Best Actress month-ish, give or take a week or two. Wow. So this is one of our Best Actress entries, because she did, after 8 freaking Oscar nominations, Geraldine Page finally won an Oscar for this performance in 1985, which we'll get to that at the end, and the nominees and how I feel about her winning this award. But I think this film really is, and you said a little bit, Del, when we first started talking, it really is about the character of Carrie Watts. It's this movie is basically this character, this Southern woman. And what is it about Southern women? What is it about Southern women which make them so, I don't know, it's so interesting, so complex.
They're colorful. They're colorful. It's like why I gravitated to write about my aunts and my mother, and I had to work a little bit harder writing about men, because those Texas women and Horton Foote never ventured outside much of a territory. He wrote hundreds of plays, I believe, and it was all around Harrison and where he grew up, and so he wrote what he knew, and he knew these women so very well, and this journey that she takes, and I don't know, we talked about it being a play, and I because I have done a few plays and several that have been adapted to film. This really, he got, I believe he got an Oscar nomination for Best Adaptation. Am I right?
He did.
It really wasn't much of an adaptation. Yep. You can literally, you can take this playbook. Play was written in 1953, 73 years ago, adapted 32 years later. I watched it yesterday, which was probably the 10th time I've watched this film, and it still holds up. The character still holds up.
No, absolutely. They
all do.
And the thing about the play, which actually was started as a television play, it was on TV on I think it was the Philco Playhouse with Lillian Gish as Carrie Watts. I've seen productions of this many times. I saw the most recent one with Cecily Tyson, and she won an Oscar. She didn't win an Oscar. She won a Tony Award.
But she also won an Emmy, didn't she?
She won a Tony Award as well. And people who play this part win awards. They do.
Yeah.
Page won the Oscar. Cicely Tyson won a Tony Award. People they do because it's such a rich character. It's also Foote's writing. It's the mystique, the magic of Bountiful. You say the trip to Bountiful. What is Bountiful? Well, we find out, of course, it's her hometown, but it's that mystique of the South, the magic of the. This play wouldn't be nearly as affecting if she was from Terre Haute, or if it was the trip to Scranton. There's nothing wonderful, funny about that. I think that's what gives this film and the play its magic, is the fact that it's set in this kind of almost pastel, impressionistic world of Bountiful, or in her mind, at least. In her mind, that's the way it is.
And Bountiful is so misleading because, it's just basically nothing. When she gets there, the crops are gone, the houses are gone, and it's just those dusty old towns in Texas that are all but gone. And it's so sad. And yet it gives her so much joy. She feels like she can die in peace now because she went back. And there's that scene, oh my God, that scene where she sits on the ground and then just puts her hands through
in the dirt. Well, her hands feel the need of dirt. Her hands feel the need of dirt.
And you said something about Carlin Glenn, who I actually saw on Broadway as Miss Mona in Best of the Whorehouse in Texas. And she's Mary Stuart Masterson's mother. And Peter Masterson, who directed this, is her dad. And they filmed this in Waxahachie, Texas, which is very close. We used so much of the crew from this film on Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Will. Dennis Bishop was our line producer. He was their line producer. Sissy Spacek's brother was one of the producers. I saw it on Wilshire at one of those theaters when it first opened. And it was just, I was just sobbing. It's
magical. It's magical.
Yeah.
Brad, can you tell us a little bit about what this trip to Bountiful is about, the story of the film?
Absolutely. Before I do that, each week I do a little tease with Tony. I don't want him to know how I felt about the film, and I get a lot of feedback that, Brad hates all the good films. That is so not true. Go back and listen to the old episodes. So I'm not going to tease Tony this time. I cried. I felt joy. This is a beautiful film. Beautiful. There were moments I hated watching it because I hurt. There were moments I just was so happy that I watched it. But this film, as you said, was based on the play, and very simple synopsis. An elderly woman, she escapes her life in Houston to visit her long-abandoned hometown one last time, and she lives with her son and somewhat abusive wife, and controlling wife is a better word to use. And along the way, she forms a brief but meaningful friendship, which I thought was too brief, but
sweet.
It was still touching. And she ultimately confronts the passage of time, and that's really what it comes down to. And her home wasn't even what she expected it to be, and it still meant everything to her.
So I want to give a little background. I'm not going to do a lot, because I always say that. I'm going to give a little background of how this all came about, because it really is interesting. Because like you said, Del, this play was written in 1953. And I believe that Horton Foote was incredibly protective of it. He did not. It was always on stage. It came back. It was, as I said, it was a Lillian Gish originally with Eva Marie Saint in the original Broadway production. I think Lois Smith later did a production of it on Broadway, but it never left the boards. But the film version took many, many years, and it all kind of started. Did you know this, Del? It started with Carolyn Glynn and her husband, Peter Masterson.
No, I did not know. No.
They were working with Redford in Sundance, and he said to her and Peter, is there any project that speaks to you? And they thought of this play, but they said Horton Foote holds this so tight, it'll never happen. And I guess it was because he felt obligated to Lillian Gish. But I mean, at this time, Lillian Gish was a little too old to do it. And they convinced Horton to do it. And Horton said, I know who I want to play this part. I know who I want to do this. And of course, it was none other than Miss Geraldine Page to do it. And so he said that he sent the script to Geraldine Page and he got a note back that said, thank you for my Christmas present. Isn't that great? Isn't that sweet?
Oh my God. Yes.
And what Page responded to was the fact, and she said, this is not the story of a little old lady. This is a woman who wants her own way. She is stubborn. She is willful. She is headstrong. And I think that's one thing that people mistake about this play is they think it's a story about this sweet little old lady who's going to go to her home before she dies. And that ain't it at all. She is conniving. She is funny. She is fierce. She's, as I said, headstrong and willful.
Those temper tantrums, that at the very beginning with that recipe, wadding up that recipe and not want.
Pick it up yourself.
Oh, Looney, don't make me. She said, go apologize.
That's what makes her performance so rich. She hits every single one of those.
If they think it was about a little old lady, they weren't paying attention.
Yeah, and in fairness too, Geraldine Page is not a little old lady. I mean, she's a big woman. But Cicely Tyson and Lillian Gish were kind of little old ladies. I mean, they were small, diminutive, frail, but the character's not. The character is so galvanizing, so strong, and she's a real pill, as my grandmother would say. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons.
Childlike, actually.
She's like a big child. Yeah. And don't you think that's what makes Page's performance so rich is that she dives into that head first?
Yeah, and you root for her immediately. You root for her in that cooped up in that apartment. And you were talking earlier about Carlin Glynn and the subtext of it, and scratching deeper into those characters. And you really look at her character, who was full of pretension. She wanted just to be like the society people of Houston, and yet her husband was a bit of a failure. He had been sick for 2 years, and they went through their savings, and they're living in this tiny little apartment. But I don't know if you remember this moment where she's looking at those clothes with her friend.
Yes, of course.
And she looks at the price, and then she just puts it down.
And, no, absolutely.
She's not a nice woman. She's just awful.
I think it's important too to point out that I don't think Jessie May is a villain. Think about it.
Yeah.
Jessie May is married to Geraldine Page, plays Carrie Watts, Mrs. Carrie Watts, and her son, played by John Hurd, his name is Ludi, and Carolyn Glynn is his wife, Jessie May, and they've been living together in this 2-room apartment for almost 20 years. On top of each other. So can you imagine that? I mean, here, not only is your life not turning out the way you wanted to with your husband, who has health problems, you don't have kids. So you're not, you're living in 2 rooms, but you've got this old, cantankerous, willful woman living with you. I think I'd be She's couching it. I'd be a little bitchy too. I think that's so important about Jessie May. To realize
she's
that.
So petulant that just because, then back to the recipe where she just put it in her drawer, and she was so mad that she got in that drawer.
I think too that what I think it's important that, yes, this story is about a woman who just wants to go back to her home before she dies. But there's so many themes in this movie. And I would love to get your take on this, both of you, either one of you. It's not only a story about going home and about going back to yourself and family, but it's also about, thwarted dreams and accepting reality. Carrie Watts has to accept the reality that Bountiful, for all intents and purposes, is gone. It's a memory. Ludi and Jessie May have to accept the reality of their lives, of being childless, of being not exactly with money. What do you think about that? What do you think about some of the themes of this movie? Either one of you.
I love so many of the themes of this. Back to what the first thing that you said about failure, about lost dreams, and we talked about, Tony, when we were together, how we had both done the same monologue, and I did it in acting class in Joan Darling's class, and I asked her if she had any notes for me, and she said, yes, live some life and come back in 20 years. And I love that note so much because it's like I've got the play here. And it's, by the way, like I said, the reason I didn't mean to disrespect him about his adaptation, but it is verbatim.
No, it's verbatim.
Mean, the fact that the way that when she rode on the bus, there was just a slight blackout and they put a bus seat for that whole ride in the middle of the stage and lit it. It was so simple the way they did that. But I loved it when he was talking about his friend who had the kids, and each one of them had their duties. And one of them was 3 years old, and she sat at the table, and he talks about, he goes, "Oh, Mama, I haven't made any kind of life for you, for either one of you, and I try so hard. And then he says, "Oh, Mama, I do remember. I lied to you. I remember so much about this house, the life here." So back to when it was bountiful, when there was happiness there, the night you woke me up and dressed me and took me for a walk, there was a full moon. It's just beautifully drawn. And that is such a heartbreaking moment in the film, because we've all had those moments where we go, I could have done more with my life.
Oh God, yeah.
And then go back to the theme with her. She lost 2 children there, and then she lost the love of her life. That hole when she talked about her dad, and his dad didn't speak.
John Ray Murray.
Yes, and he walked a mile out of his way every day
to say hi to me. Yeah. He knew he didn't love he never didn't love her. Yeah, it's amazing. The kernel of that story was the kernel of this whole play. Horton Foote said that he's based it on an aunt of his who fell in love with a cousin, and the family disapproved. And so he took that kernel and created this piece of work.
And what really surprised me about this film is I originally saw her as a tragic character. I watched this probably 30 years ago. I debated when it started. I'm like, I don't know if I saw this movie before. And then as it progressed, I was remember bits and pieces. So thank you guys for suggesting this film. I really enjoyed it. But so as it came on, I thought, oh, she's a tragic character. She's in this horrible situation. And, the whole thing at the train station when they told her there's no train going to Bountiful. And I said, she's going to get to the town and it's going to be tragic. And it really wasn't. She was confused, like when they told her the train didn't go to Bountiful. But even at the beginning, she was headstrong. This is going to be my way. She toyed around with her daughter-in-law. And then she went and she did it. And as she hit obstacles, she just kept going and going. And then when she got there.
Yes, I love that. She always found a solution. She figured it out.
The Lord was just with her today.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, she's going to get to Bountiful and she's going to see it's gone and it's going to be horrible and tragic.
Well, but she had that big meltdown. She did have that meltdown when she didn't think the sheriff was going to take her. Now, there is a little difference in the play. And I'm sorry to be I teach playwriting every year, and I always recommend this play. And there's just a slight difference because it's structured in 3 acts. And in the play, she has that fit. And then there's a blackout when she sort of collapses because she says, "You have to take me to Bountiful," or "I need to get to Bountiful." And then the very next scene, they're there. So he doesn't go away. He doesn't come back and then change his mind, which I loved. I love that in the film. I thought he built that really, really beautifully.
That was more tragedy about her thinking that she'd gone that whole way and it was ending. And she didn't get it. But once she actually got there and she saw it all, she was distraught, and then she enjoyed her memories, and it was what it was, and she accepted it. That's where I thought
and
was
they
beautiful.
talked about birds.
Yes.
That amazing scene about birds.
Yes. Oh, that's such a beautiful scene. So what happens in the movie is that she finds her way back to Bountiful. First, she goes to a train station, and she's told no trains go there. And then she goes to the bus station, and she's able to get on the bus and take the bus to Harrison, because Bountiful's between Harrison and Cotton. No trains go there. I thought it was interesting that she said she's done this before, yet she's been told many times that no trains go to Bountiful, yet she goes back to the train station every time to get on the train. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that threw me. I thought, well, maybe, she is elderly, perhaps. That's her mind. Yeah, she's not thinking that. So she does get home.
Forgot that check was in her bosom. I mean,
Forgot where her government check was. You give me that government check. She gets back to Bountiful, and Bountiful is a ghost town. Literally, there's nothing there. But she accepts it. She just wants to get home, and she accepts. She's like, I'm willing to take less. I didn't think I was going to be able to before, but I'm willing to accept it. And that's what's so beautiful. She's like, I just want this one thing, and then I can let go.
I know she was planning to move there. I mean, she had this whole plan that she needed to get, her friend that had died 2 days before that they had buried her.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It was like 2 days ago, just 2 days ago. She was just missing everything.
She died, the day, like a couple days before she got there, and that's who she was going to live with.
All she wanted was a cot.
Yes.
And the help of her government check. But, Horton Foote said that Edna Ferber, no slouch as a writer, Edna Ferber told him the true happy ending of this play would be for her to die in Bountiful when she got there. Did you know that?
I did not.
Isn't that amazing?
That would have been interesting.
But the ending, I think, is...
See, and I disagree because I kind of kept waiting for that to happen. And I kind of feel like that would be... I felt like it was the expectation. So I was glad that didn't happen.
Well, I think that would have been too pat.
Yeah, exactly.
The more realistic ending is that she now has to face the rest of her life with Jessie May and with Ludi in those 2 rooms. But it's okay because she says in the movie, I had my trip. She's okay. She had her trip.
But you know how Tony and Brad, how the play ends, back to that scene, is with the dirt. She literally drops in the play and grabs the dirt. And then she turns back to the house and says, goodbye, Bountiful, goodbye. And that's the end of the play.
Wow.
So, yes. So, I mean, I want to talk about Geraldine Page, obviously, but the way Geraldine Page says, goodbye, Bountiful, goodbye. It's just, and then she gets in the car, and there's just that one shot of her and her eyes, and she doesn't look around to say goodbye to it. She looks straight ahead because she knows this is the last time she's going to see her home. I don't know, I should speak about me, I should make I statements. When you realize this is the last time I'm going to see something, or this is the last time I'm going to experience something, there's that acceptance that she has in the end, and you feel that. You feel the pain of that reality, but you also see the resignation in her eyes. And I love the fact that she doesn't turn around to get one last look. She looks straight ahead because she knows this is my life now. I can't come back here. It's beautiful.
And then, of course, it doesn't hurt that, we see the blue bonnets and the passing by that we saw at the beginning of the film. It's Cynthia Clawson's amazing voice singing softly and tenderly, starts saying, come home, come home.
Oh.
As it has the
hymns.
It's just a gut wrencher of a movie. It just kills me.
Did you cry, Brad?
I did. Not sobbing, but tears. And then they would go away. It was that kind of movie. It just kind of, my mood wavered a lot throughout the film. It was even the tears were wonderful.
Speaking of tears, there's one moment in the film that I don't love. And
please.
Performance-wise, not her. But there is, if you watch it again, watch Rebecca De Mornay on the bus when she cries about her husband.
Yeah.
They're dry tears. There's not one thing authentic about it. And I'm stunned that they couldn't at least give her a little blow in the eyes to give her some tears.
Rebecca De Mornay was an interesting choice. I think this was not long after The Hand That Robbed the Cradle. And, so this was kind of like a change of pace for her. And she was pretty hot at this time. But yeah, I'm always like, she's okay. She's okay. But
she's fine. She's fine. That role could... if you think of from The Help, Jessica Chastain.
Oh, well,
you think about if Jessica Chastain had been right there for that role, that would have been the kind of actor.
Well, and I can imagine even Eva Marie Saint, who played it with Lillian Gish, and I'm sure she was wonderful. But it's fine.
I agree. Rebecca De Mornay did not knock it out of the park, but I'm always very happy when actors get to do something. She forgot risky business, and The Hand Rocks the Cradle, and runs Runaway Train. And then to finally do a film like this, that endears me to her.
They could have done better, but
Yes, you are right. From that standpoint, I'm happy for her. For the production, you're absolutely
in that
right.
I loved most of her performance. I really, really did. And I thought it was simple and Peter Masterson. I mean, I don't know how old Mary Stuart was at this point in her life, but boy, you think about her or Mary Louise Parker would have been brilliant in this film.
Yeah, she would. I love Mary Louise Parker. She would have been great.
Yeah.
Oh, there's tons of that would have been better. I don't disagree.
There's lots of Mary Louises who would have been.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, can you imagine though? You're told that you're going to be sharing a screen with Geraldine Page. I mean, got to give her credit. I mean, she stepped up and she did a good job. But I mean, really, who's looking at her? I'm watching Geraldine Page. When Geraldine Page cries, the character
Every
cries,
frame.
and how she hides her face when she's crying. Or what I love about what Geraldine Page, you can see the young Carrie Watts in Geraldine Page. I mean, Geraldine Page, I want to point out, was only 60
she was
when she
very
made
young.
this film. So she was not old. Although she died 2 years later. She was only 60. I mean, the way they dress her, the way they costume her. But you can see the glimpses of the young Carrie Watts. You can see how flirtatious she is. I love when she flirts with... She's flirting with the guy at the bus station with her ticket. She's like, I forget my head if it wasn't on my neck. And then she takes her ticket and she kind of flips it. And he's like, get out of here, old lady.
He's kind of mean to her. He
is mean to her. She'll do every trick she can to get what she wants. And that's what I love about her.
He was mean to her, but then he became endeared to her. He had a really nice smile when she walked away.
At the next train station, one of my friends, Harvey Lewis, who I met years later, he's the one who actually got me into looping with Barbara Harris. He's got a little role in this. So I emailed him this morning and told him that I had watched him yesterday. And he told me he was in Dallas and he had a friend who said, hey, you want to be in this movie? And
Imagine.
They knew his work and he didn't even audition.
Filmed in Dallas. Do you know who else had small, tiny bit parts in this movie in the bus station sequence right behind Geraldine Page?
Those two guys,
the twins. They were Geraldine Page's children.
Oh, wow!
That's Tony Torn and John Torn. When he has one line. I don't know which Torn child it was that had the one line, but yeah, Tony Torn and John Torn. So she had her two kids with Rip Torn, with the actor Rip Torn.
Well, when I did Daddy's Dying, Amy Wright was Lurleen, who was married to Rip Torn at the time. That whole crazy story.
Yes,
and his daughter and Rip was on the set the whole time catching fish on an odd man.
Well, I want to talk about, since we've been talking around it, I want to talk about Page, as we said before, because to me personally, this film is Geraldine Page. I saw this film, and then I saw her final stage performance in Blithe Spirit in 1987. And it totally, and I've said this to you before, Del, and I think I might have said it on the podcast, I was a young actor, I was still in school, and seeing her performance in this completely changed the way I looked at acting. Completely. I mean, I'd gone through the whole process. I was about to begin my career as an actor, and I went, now? It's like Meryl Streep in Death Becomes Her. Now a warning? Now I'm getting this lesson? Because what I love about Geraldine Page is, in this film is, and this is great acting, everything is so specific. There is not one generalization this woman makes. Every memory she has, everything she talks about, every song she sings, every hymn she sings, every story she tells is so specific to in her memory. She's thinking about a specific memory in her mind. And that's brilliant acting. That's what acting's all about.
Everybody she talks about, there's a different opinion about her.
Yes.
It's like, my daughter-in-law, Jessie May.
I mean, you know who Jessie May is.
Yeah, exactly. Leslie Jordan used to quote her all the time when she said, my daughter-in-law, Jessie May, just hates me.
Well, for example, there is a scene in the train deep, once she's gotten to Harrison, and she's talking with the guy they're waiting for her purse to be brought back to her. And she's having a conversation. And this to me is the proof in the pudding. She says the line, "That's so. That's so. 3 times in 3 different ways, and it is specific each time she says it. And that is like, that's to me, I love when actors do stuff like that, because you could think it's technical, and it is a technical thing, but the fact that she gives 3 different interpretations of this single line, and she says it 3 times, it just gives me goosebumps when I see it, because she's remembering. She's so specific about every single reply. And that's great acting. That's great acting.
I found it. It says, which Ewing was that? George White Ewing. He's dead. Is that so? Been dead for 12 years. Is that so?
There's one more. Is that so?
He said he left quite a bit of money, but his son took over his store and lost it, drank. And she goes, is that so? One thing I can say about my boy, I like it. I like this line where the ticket man goes, I've got one boy that drinks and one that doesn't. I can't understand it. I raised them both the same way. And then when he says, a friend of mine has a girl that drinks, I think there's nothing sadder in the whole wide world. I mean, it's just
Isn't it though?
great dialogue.
Isn't it though? No, it's Horton Foote. I mean, it's, incredible.
What I noticed towards the end of the film, I think John Hurd was great. I think Carlin Glenn was great. Rebecca De Mornay, more than anything else, she had a good look for the era. But what I noticed each time when they were gone, I almost forgot about them because I was so engrossed in her. She just, despite her great cast with her, it was a one-woman show to me.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And Brad, one of the things I was telling Tony when you were getting back on, there's a few flaws in the movie. It's not a perfect film when it comes to technical aspects of it, and one of them is because of her genius. She was not capable of understanding continuity.
Right.
So if you really look at the film from that point of view, there's the scene where she's almost fainting and gets the glass of water at the very beginning. She starts with the glass in one hand. They cut to the close up. It's in the other hand. Her mannerisms are so organic and authentic that her mind is racing, and her mind can't connect with that part of it, and that I think that's a problem sometimes with film, because you can't, on stage you can do whatever the fuck you want, but in film,
you have to match.
You just have to live with it.
That's one of the differences between film acting and theater acting is the fact, and she was a theater actress. I mean, for people who don't know, I don't think there's an exaggeration to say she's probably one of the greatest 2 actors to come out of the actor studio. Kim Stanley, perhaps being the other one. She's mythic. She was a mythic. She was a goddess. In fact, when we get to the Oscars, I'm going to say what F. Murray Abraham said about her.
Yeah,
but
please.
It drove everybody crazy because she had here's the thing about Page was she was so immersed in the reality of the character that her mind there was not room in her mind for the technical aspects of acting. That was too distracting for her. She couldn't let it in. She was so deeply involved in the reality of Carrie Watts, so much so that she never did anything twice, and she couldn't, her mind wouldn't go there. She didn't allow her mind to absorb the thing that would take her out of the character, take her out of the reality of the situation. Am I getting really technical about acting here?
No, but I wanted to add, I wondered, is because if you watch the film, when you watch the film, and if you're listening and you haven't watched it, you must watch it. But notice how sometimes there are no cuts for a very long time. They say on her. And I think some of that is the continuity issue. And they don't, back and forth. There's not a back and forth with she and De Mornay on that bus bench. It just stays on her with De Mornay sort of in the background.
And it's easier in movies like this because she is the star, but when she's a supporting player and she's doing stuff like this, I love her in Pete and Tilly. She's hysterically funny in Pete and Tilly. She's the best thing in Pete and Tilly as far as I'm concerned. But can you imagine how frustrating that is for a director? Because she would never do the same thing twice. So there was no way to match shots. So they're not really jump cuts, but they look like jump cuts because she wouldn't, as I said, she would not suspend her disbelief in the character long enough to realize, to have that technical knowledge of what was going on.
It's a problem with certain actors. There is one big bad jump cut in that. In the very last act of it, when she does get to Bountiful, I don't know if you remember, Brad, when she's talking to the sheriff and they're doing the bird scene, and then she gets up and she stands by the window, and then for some reason it just jumps to her sitting on the porch.
Yes.
And it's like, what?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. That's it. I mean, she wouldn't suspend her disbelief to the point where, she was playing the role as it happened every single time, which is a special kind of genius, maybe a special kind of madness. I don't know. Who cares? It's Geraldine Page.
I kept thinking, didn't they have a shot of just the field or something that they could have cut to that would have given her time to walk back to the...
But somebody said that she would come to the set, no big surprise, completely, totally unadorned, like a blank page, because she was going to then paint on, she's the artist, she's going to then paint on the character of Carrie Watts. So when I met Geraldine Page,
met her.
I met her. Yeah, there's a story. So she had long, stringy hair. She was totally, unbelievably unglamorous. You would not have you would have thought she was a bag woman if you saw her on the street. But when she would come to the set, no makeup, nothing, because then she would become Carrie Watts with the wig and I think she had a little bit of a fat suit when she did this, and she became, because she was in essence living the reality of the character moment by moment by moment. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
So tell us, when did you meet her?
Well, we'll get to that. I'll tell that story, but before but Brad, I believe you want to say some things about the podcast and some things, and then we'll get back to Bountiful.
Yeah, of course, I'll give the stats as I always do about the film. But before I do that, we've asked you folks to please text us. And we said we won't be able to text you back. That has changed now. So at the very top of the show notes, we would love to hear from you. Please text us, and we can now respond. And one little extra step, if you click that link, you have an option now. You can text us, or you can leave us a voicemail. So we can actually play those on the air as well. We've had films that people have requested that we put on the show, and we love to hear from you. What do you want on here? Within reason. I will tell you, Tony always refuses to do a film he doesn't like. So take it, Tony, when you do that.
Not true. We're going to have a whole month of movies that coming up. There's a teaser for you of movies that may not be great movies, but yeah, there are suggestions. Or anyway, yeah, I interrupted you.
That is true. But I've requested films, and you're like, no. So anyway, moving on. As we said, this is a 1985 film. The budget of this was very, very inexpensive. It was $1.8 million. It grossed $6 million. So it wasn't, obviously it made its money back. But, it was up against some heavy hitters this year. Back to the Future made $210 million. Wow. Rambo Part 2, I cringe when I hear it. It made $150 million. Then we had Rocky 4. This was a big Sylvester Stallone year. We had The Color Purple. We had Out of Africa. And I was really happy to hear that you mentioned that she was 60 years old when she made this film, because there's a bigger surprise. This was the year that Cocoon came out, and Wilford Brimley was only 49 years old. That's astounding.
He was only 49 when he did Cocoon?
They did age him up, but he was 49.
He lived some life.
He was like Adolphe Manjou in Stage Door. No, it was quite a year. It was quite an incredible year for film, and it was quite an incredible year for Best Actresses. However, we know that the woman who got the Best Actress Oscar that year was indeed Miss Geraldine Page. After this was her 8th Oscar nomination, and there's debate that was this a career achievement Oscar because she'd been nominated 7 times before, or was this merited? I got to tell you, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the other 4 actresses who were nominated with her, this was, and the audience, which rose to its feet when her name was called, this was not. This performance was absolutely warranted. In fact, what I said, F. Murray Abraham presented those awards, and he read off the nominees. And he said, and the Oscar goes to, or maybe this is when, and the winner is at this time. And before he announced the name, he said, he was notably moved. And he said, I consider this woman to be the greatest actress in the English language. And for a minute, Anne Bancroft goes, me? No. He says, Geraldine Page. And the other one, Whoopi Goldberg, who was nominated for The Color Purple, jumped up. And so did Meryl Streep, who was nominated for Out of Africa, clapping, applauding, screaming. Jessica Lange was nominated for Sweet Dreams also that year. Just absolutely, this belonged to Geraldine Page.
It did. It did. I will go further. I think it was one of the top 5 best actress performances ever. I would believe it. I love it so much.
The woman was such, I say this word way too much, and I shouldn't because it loses its potency, but this woman was a genius actress. She really was.
Tony, you were going to tell us about meeting her.
Okay. I hesitate telling this because I don't want to throw my friend under the bus, but I don't think she listens to this, so I'm going to tell it anyway. All right, so as I said, this movie totally changed the way I thought about acting. And I thought, I have to see Geraldine Page. And as it turns out, just so happens that Geraldine Page was appearing in Blithe Spirit on Broadway. It was her final performance. She's such an actress. She's such a trooper. She died between a matinee and an evening performance.
Yes.
Now that's an actor for you, folks. That's an actor for you. So anyway, so I got my ass to New York City with my friends. I was in college, and we got tickets, and we saw Blithe Spirit. And if anybody's familiar with Blithe Spirit, it's Noel Coward. So it's the complete opposite of Horton Foote and the Trip to Bountiful. It's a British drawing room comedy. And she played Madame Arcady. She was brilliant. She was so funny. And so we waited afterwards, as we always did, for the actors to come out. And the other people who were in it, Blythe Danner was in it, Richard Chamberlain was in it. They all came out and kind of went off. Judith Ivey was in it. They were all great. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally the door opens, and out peers this head with long, stringy hair and big glasses. And it's Geraldine Page. And she comes out, and she's in this big coat. And of course, being the young actors we were, we pounced on her. Oh, you're wonderful. Oh, I'm such a fan. I said, I loved A Trip to Bountiful. And she was very gracious. You know, we're just fanboying out on her, fangirling out on her. And she's very gracious. She's like, that's good. We said, we're actors. You are so inspirational. Thank you so much. And she's like, that's good. Just keep at it. Keep studying. You'll be fine. And we say, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And my friend says, yes, thank you so much, Miss Dewhurst.
Oh. You have told me this story.
And she stopped, and she looked at her, and she just slowly turned away. And we were all standing there stunned. And my friend just kept saying, I said, shut up. I can't believe you said that. Shut up. Geraldine Page died 2 weeks later.
Oh, I think your friend had something to do with it.
And I said, we think that comment murdered her, because she went home thinking, they think I'm calling Dewhurst? They think I'm calling Dewhurst.
It's better than thinking you're Joyce DeWitt.
We're not going to be talking about Three's Company.
Well,
so yeah.
Well, Tony, I think I told you, I haven't told you, I actually met Horton Foote, or I didn't meet him. I'm not going to lie. I did not meet him, but, they were doing his play Laura Dennis, but he had I was such a big fan that my friend Cameron Watson was in the play, and he said, come see the play, and I have your seat sitting behind Horton Foote. And I was so intimidated that I didn't say anything to him, but a great thing happened to me that night. Dale Dickey flew out on stage as the crazy woman. And afterwards, I accosted her and said, I must work with you. And now I've worked with her 22 times.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful.
And it was just a great night. And you were talking about, deaths. And I don't know if you remember, but Horton Foote actually wrote the day he died. I think he was 90 or 91. He wrote in the morning. He was staying with his daughter, Hallie Foote, who did a lot of his plays. And he had adapted To Kill a Mockingbird for stage, not the Eric Sorkin version. And they were doing it at her theater. And he went to take a nap, and she went to wake him up for the matinee, and he was dead. And I thought, that's how I want to go. I just want to write in the morning and maybe get the matinee, and die after. But what a way.
That's a trooper. That's a trooper in every sense of the word.
Like I say, when Tony mentioned about how Geraldine Page died, I thought, now the real grace is that she had the dignity to die between shows.
Yes, and not in it.
Not on stage. Yeah.
Was it a heart attack, Tony?
Yeah.
Was that how she?
She died of a heart attack. And not 60. She was 62, so she was not
so young.
Oh,
she was.
wow.
That's very young. That's very young. And but what a true artist, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not familiar with Geraldine Page, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, go download The Trip to Bountiful. There's also brilliant performances in Sweet Bird of Youth, Summer and Smoke, Pete and Tilly, one of my favorites. But she's also Woody Allen's Interiors. But one of my personal favorites is the hagsploitation film, Whatever Happened to Aunt Alice. And the things she puts poor Ruth Gordon through, I'm just going to say, it's a brilliant performance. They're all brilliant. Go watch a Geraldine Page movie. I guarantee you will not be disappointed.
I saw her recently in Honky Tonk Freeway because I was interviewing Michael Childers and with his series here about My Husband Makes Films.
His husband's movies, yeah.
Yes, and I'd never seen Honky Tonk Freeway. There she is as a nun, just a very small role.
Oddly enough, Anne Bancroft was nominated for Agnes of God in a role that Geraldine Page originated on Broadway of the Mother Superior. So it's all very combined.
Yeah, and Meg Tilly was nominated and for Amanda Plummer's role.
Exactly. Well, this has been so much fun, Del. Thank you so much for joining Brad and myself on what is going on. What's the most recent thing that's going on with you that people should be aware of or look for?
I just did the recipe box. It was actually in Birmingham, Alabama, not Texas. I did it, but it is going to Texas next. And I'm going to open the recipe box, my new play in Austin. That will be in September. Between that, I'm actually directing a play in Dallas called Mama Won't Die that my friend 80-year-old Patty Pell wrote in my writer's class. So I'm going to go and do that. And our play, I'm very involved with the Del Shores Foundation, and our winning play Cockroaches opens here at the Revolution Theater, directed by Emerson Collins on April the 24th. So lots going on, and writing a new movie. And so. Would
you tell the people a little bit about the Del Shores Foundation? Because I find it is just an incredible organization.
Yeah, what we do is we facilitate finding storytellers in three different mediums: short film, screenplay, and playwriting. And we have a contest every year. We're about to open it up in May for the next year. And anybody in 16 southern states can submit their plays, their screenplays, their short films, and we give opportunity to those who win. And all of our plays have been produced now, and a couple of our short films have been produced. So we facilitate getting meetings for our screenplay writers.
It's wonderful.
To people I can't really get meetings with. It's amazing.
It's a wonderful, wonderful foundation. I'm always been so moved by the work you do for people who are in places, not Los Angeles or New York or Chicago, which may not have the opportunities readily available to have their work seen, and you give them that opportunity. So people, please, what's the website?
It's delshoresfoundation.org.
Go on, support this incredible cause.
Thank you. And thanks for your support. Both of you have supported the organization. I appreciate it very much.
Rent one of Del's incredible films, Sordid Lives. I got to tell you, Del, I just watched Sordid Lives again last month, and I could not stop laughing. You know how I am with that movie. But
25 years old now.
Amazing, amazing.
It is next to impossible to be with a group of people that have seen that film and quotes from the film don't start happening right and left.
They don't. My friend John in West Virginia loves Sorted Live. So everybody does. It's astounding.
Thank you.
So Brad, I think we need to thank our wonderful guest. Thank you so much, Del, for joining us today and for talking about
This was fun.
this lovely, beautiful, beautiful film.
Yes, Del, I want to tell you, despite my teasing at the beginning, it is wonderful to see you, and thank you for being on the show. It's delightful.
Same, and appreciate you both. So thanks for what you do here to keep us interested and the history of film alive and well. I love it.
Well, thank you, Del. You're responsible for this. Well, Brad, I guess that leaves just one more thing left to say, but I don't want to say it. So let's not say goodbye. Let's say it's too early for him singing.
I'm sorry, Tony. No, let's say goodbye.
Goodbye, Bountiful. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.